something that went down here in L.A. The Sixers were at Staples last night, which meant that Dwight Howard and Danny Green were back in town to get their rings. So there was a time where I never thought that I would say the following sentence, but let me say it right now. I never thought that I would say this. Not for a long time anyway. But it was awesome to see Dwight Howard back. I mean, honestly, awesome. And that's because the arc of this guy's career has been utterly amazing. From one of the most dominant players in the league to a journeyman and a dope, and then back to a key contributor to a championship team in L.A., no less. I mean, it really is remarkable. It's incredible. So it was really great to see Howard and Danny Green get theirs before last night's game. Dwight Howard, world champion. World bleeping champion. So that was good to see. I thought that was cool, but not nearly as cool as what happened next. That was even better to see because in the history of the association, I don't think there's anybody else who could have pulled off what Dwight pulled off last night. Because 1 minute and 8 seconds were left in the first quarter when he and Montrezl Harrell got tangled up. A double T for each guy. No one better than Big Dwight. Just like that, on a night where he gets a championship ring to complete one of the all-time reinventions and resurrections, Dwight Howard gets ejected for walking into a guy. And yes, he walked into him with intent. Neither guy was going to give ground on that, obviously. Harrell shoved Dwight, but that was vintage Dwight Howard. Also one of the all-time softest ejections in league history. And that's saying something because NBA refs have been giving out texts this year like sanitizer, hand sanitizer. Kane Fitzgerald did not have to go there with that second tee and that ejection. But at the same time, the fact that he did might be the most Dwight Howard thing ever. Get a championship ring before the game, get ejected after the first quarter. Now, that is some GOAT-level stuff right there. And not ejected for giving somebody the hands. Ejected for walking into a guy and then immediately acting like he didn't do it when the entire world saw that he did do it. I know his coach saw it. Doc Rivers did because Doc was pissed. Check out Glenn Doc Rivers if you need him, and we all do. In-game interviews generally are the biggest waste of time ever, but that was the greatest in-game interview ever. I mean, we got to break this thing down, right? The way he delivers clowns is pure poetry. Clowns. Absolutely dripping with disdain and disgust. What a great word. What an underrated word clowns is. Calling a pair of grown men clowns is the best. And then when it's coming from Doc with that level of contempt about one of his own, no less. I'm going to say it right now. Doc Rivers, runaway winner of Coach of the Year. They have the best record in the East. They've got the second best record in the NBA. Everybody is sleeping on them as a title contender. Doc Rivers is dropping J.C. Blass and Clown Blass in interviews. It's him against the field. Quinn Snyder's a hell of a coach. He really is. What Monty Williams is doing in Phoenix is nothing short of miraculous. And in any other year, it would be Monty's to lose. But I'm going to need Quinn and Monty to start hitting guys with clowns in game if they want to get my vote. And this is why Doc is so great. Because he didn't stop at calling the two of them clowns. He had some other thoughts that he wanted to get to after the game as well. It's so good. That is so good. So strong. I mean, it would have been so much easier to say something like, I'll talk to Dwight, and we're going to keep that in-house. Or maybe take a run at Kane Fitzgerald for that weak tee. But instead, Doc made it very clear and very public how he felt about Dwight's actions. Like, he's not good with that at all. But it shows the kind of connection that Doc has with that locker room. He knows that he can do that. He knows he can call a guy out. He knows he can call a guy a clown on the night where he gets a championship ring. Make the guy accountable, and the player can take it, and he will not lose the locker room. It takes a unique head coach and a unique locker room to be able to do that. Because not every locker room has guys who can stand up to that kind of public criticism. No names mentioned. The Clippers. Remember what happened last year with him and them. And by the way, Doc's right. That is a selfish play and a dumb move when you only have one center available on your roster, at least for that night. If you only have one center and the guy playing center already has one T, you cannot get another one and get ejected, clown. In other words, you cannot get hooked. That said, I'm so glad he did. I'm so glad he did. You can't do that, of course, but I'm glad he did. And if you're looking for one word to describe what that was, what that represents, how that went down, that one word is clowns. That was so awesome. Such an unbelievably Dwight moment. Clowns. Man, with such disdain and contempt. That's how you do it. 1-800-636-8686. Tell me somebody other than Dwight Howard that could get a ring and get ejected on the same night. And ejected, not for letting the hands go, but for walking into a guy and then throwing his arms up like, I didn't do it. Clowns. So glad he did.